So something happened to me this week, where all my social media was flooded with comparisons between 1989's Ranma 1/2 and the new Netflix version. And most comparisons talks about the dubs or the animation quality or which one respects the original material more. And while I could tell that the animation was a lot better in the new one, when people compared stills, I still liked the old one more. And sure, character design might have something to do with it, but what I kept watching was the lines. So today, I want to talk about line weight, because mastering your lines is what will save you from having a sketch that looks like this, but a cleaned up version that looks like this. I want to show you why line weight matters. I'm also going to show you how the pros use it. I'm also going to show you pros that don't use it. And I'm also going to show you how to master your lines so you can clean up your sketches and don't lose any of its soul. Now, I get why the two Ranmas look different. After all, animation tech has changed a lot, and this line consistency isn't a bad thing either. There is a good reason to have it. After all, I grew up watching Goku change his face like in every episode. But this is not about line confidence. Lines can be super clean and super confident. But if you ask me, these lines lack a lot of personality. And this is not an animation thing. I can find countless of examples of shows that have no problem changing their line weight. It is not a technical limitation, it is a choice. And this kind of line, well, it can make your artwork feel lifeless. I mean, you tell me, which one looks better? Tell me in the comments and leave a like while you're at it. But on top of the personality problem, there's also a matter of importance here. In this winged canvas tutorial, Jessie shows something that is very important. When all of your lines weight the same, they start competing with each other. So let's start with a few reasons why you should use different line weights in your artwork. The first one is shadows. This is the obvious one. If you know where your light is coming from, use thicker lines in places where the shadows would be. A very simple trick for shadows is the one that Loish uses in a lot of her artwork. Below the chin, there is always this thick triangle. This triangle not only suggests a little shadow, but it also helps bring the head forward. You can't do that with my head because I have no chin, but that is what the beard is for. But this tiny triangle is doing something else, because the head is overlapping with the neck. And this is the next use for thicker line weight, overlapping. So if you have two objects and you want to point out which one is in front of the other, you use a thicker line to mark this overlap between the objects. And now that I mentioned objects in front of each other, there is of course a matter of proximity. And that is one more use for different light weights. When an object is closer to the viewer, you can use thicker lines to signify that difference in distance. Which reminds me that I have a video on foreshortening that you should totally watch. Now, has it ever happened to you that you wanted to draw something very big, like a very big eye, but you only had a mechanical pencil? So when you did it, you felt like the whole thing was empty and you didn't know why? Well, that's line weight. Bigger things, thicker lines. But what kind of line? Because we don't want a hairy line or a searching line. If someone draws lines like this and wants to teach you how to draw, just run away. I'd never do that. That's why you have to subscribe to this channel. I'd never lie to you, baby. The line that we want is what Perko called the tapered line. This line will help you make long, natural lines that feel organic and continuous. And on its own, it looks like this. How do you do it? Super easy. You start with very soft pressure, you press on, and slowly let go. Why is this a good line? Well, here are the usual problems with lines. They either start too abruptly, they end too abruptly, they don't connect with the previous line, or they have no sense of flow. The tapered line solves all of this because the secret is not on the line itself, it's on how you move your hand. So start the drawing motion before you press on the paper and continue the motion as you let go. This fading in will let you A. Get your hand moving in the direction of the previous stroke so you can continue the line, and B. Mix the previous stroke with the next one, which is why you also want to fade your line out and continue the motion as you leave the page. This is how you clean up your sketches with tapered lines. What made your sketch so lively is that your stroke was natural and organic. We want to maintain that feeling. Mechanical pencils or enabling smoothing in your drawing software, well, it takes away from that. And even comic book artists that use mechanical pencils choose to vary the line weight as well. But if you need steps, take your sketch and bring the opacity to a lower level. Or if you're on paper, just carefully erase the sketch until you can barely see it. This will help you identify the main line of the sketch so you can start drawing over it. Use the taper stroke to make long, fluid lines. But what if you don't want to use different line weights in your line? What if you still want a uniform line width? Well, there are artists that do that with great success. I'm not one of them, but there are. One is Mobius, the famous French illustrator. He uses only one line width, but he adds a lot of lines when he wants more texture or shadows. But you want to draw so many lines? It does look a little bit tiring. Well, you can do what James Turner does. He's one of the creators of the Plucky Squire. His artwork uses a very thick line that is often cut out in certain points. And now that I think about it, Mobius' line also cuts out in certain points. And so did the lines in the old Ranma anime. But these unfinished lines are not only a way to give your line some personality, they can also be part of your line arsenal. Look at this example by Greg Smallwood, where he shows how in order to make a shoe feel like it is firmly planted in the ground, it doesn't finish part of the sole. The shoe melted into the ground! No, it hasn't. You know it hasn't, and your brain completes the line for you. But now it really feels like this person is putting his weight on the shoe. But that is not the only moment when you can do it. You can do it in every moment when you want to feel two objects being really close with each other. Have you ever wondered why drawing teeth always feels a bit wrong? Well, now you know. So thick lines, thin lines, unfinished lines, or no lines at all. There are several ways that you can use line to give personality to your artwork. And this applies to everything from faces, to hair, to clothes. But you really won't be able to draw clothes the right way unless you know something very important that I discovered about drawing them. And I have a video about it that you can watch right here. So go.